This is Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Boxing. You're watching Sporting Icons. You don't need to be anywhere else.
Hello everybody. Now, a couple of days ago, Anthony Joshua has done a couple of interviews, one with Sky Sports and one with JD. And he's talking about his loss to Andy Ruiz. And of course, he's talking about why he's taken the rematch with Andy Ruiz. Because there's been quite a few people saying, well, maybe now is a good opportunity for him to step back and take the fights that he should have been taking at this part of his career. Because let's be honest, 23 fights right now, he should only really now be looking at the world champions. Okay, he should have went through the British, the Commonwealth, the European, defended those, learning fights, and then maybe making an assault on the world heavyweight title round about now. But he'd done it in his 16th fight when he took on Charles Martin. And from that moment, he's had a target on his back. So no more cherry picking, no more fighting journeyman, no more fighting low-level opposition or learning fights, for example. Well, I mean, you could say that he stepped up ever since his 15th fight, so even before Charles Martin when he took on Dillian Whyte. That's a serious step up. And since those moments, he's had to fight top opposition after top opposition after top opposition, with the exception of Eric Molina. But we all know how that fight came about. He was trying to get Kubrat Pulev. Pulev didn't want to do it. He agreed to fight Vladimir Klitschko. Klitschko got injured, so they put in Eric Molina as not a really late replacement, but somewhat late. So outside of Eric Molina, look at who it is that Joshua's fought and defeated. Dillian Whyte. Charles Martin was undefeated. People have to remember, a lot of people were picking Charles Martin to defeat Anthony Joshua back then. A lot of people were. Charles Martin was putting on some great speeches. I walk this earth like a god. And all this kind of thing, with people going, ooh, this guy actually means it. He's saying that Anthony Joshua is a hype job and things like that. He took on Dominic Breazeale. Dominic Breazeale was undefeated at that time. And a prospect that some Americans were saying could go on to achieve. Bear in mind, Wilder has only just fought Dominic Breazeale. Anthony Joshua did it in his 17th fight as a voluntary. He's defeated Vladimir Klitschko. He's defeated Alexander Povetkin. Undefeated world champion Joseph Parker. Could you say Carlos Takam? Maybe. He's kind of at the top end. He's a top 15 heavyweight, isn't he? You could probably say. But the point is that Anthony Joshua saying, I've been defeated here. I want to get revenge. And the world heavyweight titles are also an added bonus to this one. Why would I go fight somebody else when I've got an opportunity to get my belts back? And I can totally agree with that. And listen, I understand why people say, well, maybe he should take a few tune-up fights and whatever else. But he wants to get those titles back. And I've always said, any fighter who loses a fight, if there's an opportunity to rematch that person at some point, take it. If you feel that you could beat that person, then take it. Which is one of the things why I was critical of Amir Khan for quite some time. He hasn't avenged not one of his defeats. He could have rematched Lamont Peterson. And he'd have defeated Lamont Peterson. He could have rematched Danny Garcia and could have potentially have defeated Danny Garcia. I wouldn't advise him to rematch Canelo, but you kind of get my point. If there's an opportunity, you should always try and avenge your defeat. Look at Lennox Lewis. He's got 2 defeats and a draw on his resume. And as a consequence of all 3 of those, he rematched all 3 of those and defeated them. So Lennox Lewis can stand proudly now at the end of his career, look back and say, I've defeated everybody that I stepped foot in the ring with. And a few other fighters that way. So for me, there's an opportunity to have a rematch with Andy Ruiz Jr. and get your titles back. That's what you should do. And he's activated this rematch clause. Why it's taken so long to get a damn venue, I have no idea. How complicated can it possibly be? Right? But the thing is, he's saying that, why would I go fight somebody else? I don't take tune-up fights. I don't fight B-level fighters. Of course, he's having digs at Wilder because Wilder has made a career out of fighting. Well, actually, we're being generous if we say B-level, okay? Because he's actually been fighting much lower than that. Tyson Fury was doing it at times as well. You could argue that Tom Schwartz and Otto Wallin are B-level fighters. You could certainly say that. You wouldn't put them in the top 10, 15 in the world, would you? Of course you wouldn't. So maybe that's a subtle dig at them too, because these guys do cherry pick. But it's like he says, who am I going to fight? My way is try and fight the best that I can. You're going to rematch Dillian Whyte? That's a top fighter, right? He'd go fight whoever. He'd go fight a Kaunaki. That's a top fight. He can go fight Alexander Usyk. That's a top fight. He isn't going to go fight somebody lower again, okay? That's not what he's going to do. So he's got an opportunity to get the belts back, and I totally agree with it. But also on the flip side, which I've seen quite a few people say before, and I totally agree with, is that if he didn't activate this rematch, we know the PBC like in-house fights. So now they've got Andy Ruiz Jr., which is a total surprise to them, by the way, because they took on Andy Ruiz Jr., and you can guarantee that they looked at Andy Ruiz Jr. as an opponent for people, as an opponent for Kaunaki, as potentially an opponent for Luis Ortiz, etc. He was probably behind the pecking order of the likes of Charles Martin. Maybe kind of on the same kind of level as Chris Arreola. That's what they looked at him as, which is why they released him, which is why they said, okay, Andy, you can go fight Anthony Joshua. Good luck, I hope you win, but if you lose, we don't care. And he pulled off the shock of all shocks, right? So now the PBC have got all the belts within their stable. They're not going to give Joshua a voluntary. Look at what they've done with Dillian Whyte. He's been waiting on the sidelines for, what, a year and a half now, maybe 2 years now. PBC do not give outside fighters opportunities to fight their guys unless they are 100% confident that their guy is going to get that win, which is why they brought in Tyson Fury to fight Wilder, because there was no way that Tyson Fury was going to defeat Deontay Wilder in their mind at that stage of his comeback. And it nearly went pear-shaped. They had to have a word with the judges and get them to screw Tyson Fury out of it, right? So my point is that they will keep Andy Ruiz Jr. behind, and they'll give him Kaunaki. They'll give him Ortiz. They'll give him maybe damn Chris Arreola, right? They'll give him Charles Martin. Ultimately, maybe they'll give him Deontay Wilder. But there'll be no rush to make the Deontay Wilder fight, none whatsoever. Because then you've got two champions who can do multiple headliners, and if one of their own guys defeats Andy Ruiz Jr., oh well, it doesn't matter. Then they'll start putting stock behind the person who beat Andy Ruiz Jr., and they'll keep on doing it that way. Okay? But this is why Anthony Joshua needs to rematch Andy Ruiz Jr. And hey, listen, if he loses, then he loses. Then he can rebuild after that. Then he can look at certain things and maybe go fight certain level of opponents and things like that. But Joshua's point is that he doesn't want to fight that kind of level of opposition. He doesn't want to do what Wilder's been doing his entire career. He doesn't want to go fight the Tom Schwartz or Otto Wallens of the world. If he's going to be having fights, whether it's for a title or even not a title, he's going to be looking at Usyk. He's going to be looking at Dillian Whyte. These are the kind of guys that he's going to be looking at. So you may as well fight these kind of guys when one of them's got a belt. Is Andy Ruiz Jr., is he one of these kind of guys? Can you put him on the same kind of level as a Dillian Whyte or as a Alexander Usyk? Before the Joshua fight, most people, except for me, were saying that Andy Ruiz Jr. isn't even close to it. Even the PBC weren't thinking that either, which is why, as I said before, he was allowed to go fight Joshua. Because he was just an opponent. He was just there to make up some numbers for the PBC. Anyway, I hope I kind of made some kind of sense as to why I totally agree that Joshua should try and get his belts back. And for me, anybody who's saying that, no, Joshua should step back and allow Ruiz to go fight Wilder for Undisputed because we want to see Undisputed. Undisputed's never really been my big thing. Of course, I'd love to see Undisputed, but it's never really been my thing, really. For me, I just want to see the best fighters fighting the best fighters. That's all I want to see. And a Ruiz versus Wilder fight doesn't really excite me, even for Undisputed. It just doesn't excite me at all. But anyway, listen, that's my thoughts on it all. I think Anthony Josh is absolutely correct. There's an opportunity to not only get revenge, but get your world titles back again. Why not? Because let's be honest, Joshua is the one who made the heavyweight division popular again. He's the one who got people talking about boxing again. Tyson Fury unlocked the door. Anthony Joshua kicked the damn thing in. It was Joshua who went around and collected all these belts. He has every right to try and get back everything that he's put in, all the hard work that he's done. Anyway, that's my thoughts. I think Anthony Joshua is absolutely spot on. He should go rematch Andy Ruiz Jr. and not let him become the prisoner of the PBC like the rest of them. Anyway, you drop your thoughts below about it, click thumbs up, subscribe. Catch you all on the next one.